Hey, what's up, guys? Tolbert coming at you with video for Tuesday, 5/19, May the 19th. Including today, we've only got 6 instructional days left, if I'm counting them up right. 3 more this week and 3 next week. And then we'll be getting in the wrap-up game. Had a meeting this morning on grades. I'm more confused now than I was before we jumped in the meeting. Um, they were talking about how to calculate quarter four and what all it means and this and that and everything else. The best way I can say it is keep doing what you're doing so that you know you're safe. That's the easiest way around it. Keep doing quarter four work, so that we can make that grade jump up as much as possible. All right. Let me talk about the assignment first before we jump into the notes that we got to take today. Um, so this is the assignment due today. You can make a billboard, an infomercial, or a radio advertisement for one of these two things. I just added this in. This is a video link, takes you to a YouTube video. It's 10 minutes long. This is a 1950s video that they actually showed in elementary schools for what to do if we were going to get attacked by a nuclear weapon. And it's called Duck and Cover, which is like the version of Duck and Cover right there. I've got the original version. So watch that to kind of get an idea of what you could do to make your video. And obviously, it doesn't have to be animated, 10 minutes long, and everything else. Um, but it'll give you an idea of what to do. So this is due today on Tuesday. You'll turn it in right here, like you normally do. So let's jump in the notes so we can get this thing done and over with, and we can move on. So we're going to talk about stuff that happened in the 1960s. Now, guys, the 1960s are weird. It was called the decade of turmoil, just because there was a lot of weird stuff going on, like a United States president getting assassinated, and Martin Luther King Jr. getting assassinated, and people fighting for civil rights, and all that's kind of happening all at once. But there was also some weird stuff going on with the Cold War, and it all happened during President Kennedy's presidential administration. So, you know, communism, we wanted it to not spread. We wanted to contain it. We wanted to keep it all in. We wanted to quarantine it. We wanted to keep it all in one small area so that it wouldn't go out and spread everywhere. But it started spreading everywhere, and it got really close to us. Guys, in 1959, Fidel Castro, this guy right here with the rifle, excuse me, in his hands, he just passed away. It was either last year or 2 years ago. He took over Cuba in 1959 and converted them to a communist government. Cuba's close. Cuba's only 90 miles away from Florida. And if the Soviet Union gives them nuclear weapons, they could fire them at us and they could hit us really easily. And of course, the Soviet Union and Cuba are going to be friends because they're communist buddies, right? And so that leads to the next scary thing, the Bay of Pigs. And we thought, now here's the thing, I don't know who we is in this situation. And people are still arguing this today in 2020 because we don't know who knew about it and who organized it. We know the CIA was involved. The CIA trained a bunch of people to go in and actually kill Fidel Castro. Now, here's the thing, Fidel Castro, even though he was a communist, was pretty much peaceful. He never actually threatened us. He never did anything to attack us. And we're like, well, if he's communist, maybe if we kill him, we'll kill communism. And so we sent people down there to train to go and kill him. Now, the question is, who all knew about it? Did President Kennedy know about it? Did the FBI know about it? Did our military know about it? Did the CIA do this on their own? Either way, they got caught. They didn't kill him, they got caught. It was a huge failure. It made the United States look like the bad guys because we were. We went down there and we tried to to kill this leader just because we don't agree with what he believes in. It's called the Bay of Pigs because pigs are filthy animals, and I, forgive my Spanish because I always get these two words mixed up. I know one of them is kitchen and one of them is dirty. Cocina or cochina. I'm not sure which one. Somebody please send me a message so I know which one it is. They're both spelled very similarly and they sound very similar. But one of them means kitchen and one of them means dirty. This was dirty. The Bay of Pigs. That's what the Cubans who speak Spanish called it. And so around the world, they see this stuff going on. So They built a wall in Berlin. We're going to keep the communist on one half. We're going to keep the democratic people on the other, because so many people wanted to escape communism to go to the democracy side of Berlin that they built a wall like Trump. Building a wall doesn't always solve the problems. It just literally creates a big, huge wall. And we'll talk early next week about how that wall came down in 1989. I actually learned to walk um, the day that the Berlin Wall came down in 1989. And I only know this because my dad was supposed to be like recording me with the camcorder, like walking and like stumbling and falling over, but he pans over to the TV on the side where the Berlin Wall was falling down, which is pretty cool for a history teacher. I was the reason that communism fell. I started walking. I stomped on the earth and the wall fell down. It makes sense. Now here's the real tricky stuff. We were the bad guys in this situation, so Russia is like, all right, well, we can help out Cuba because it's proven that the Americans want to attack. So let's get ready for an attack. And so the Soviet Union gave missiles to Cuba that could hit the United States, and they were aimed right at us. And we knew it, and they knew it. And this was the closest to World War III that we ever got. It was super close. My dad was in first grade. He remembers coming home from school and my grandmother crying because it was on the news that the Russians might attack us through Cuba and we might be in World War III. And the nuclear weapons could hit North Carolina. And what would that mean for the United States? It scared the ever living crap out of everyone. And my grandparents had kids that were really young. They had, at that point, an infant, a 3-year-old, and a 6-year-old, which is extremely, extremely scary. My dad's got a pretty sharp memory. He can remember stuff like that. Pretty crazy stuff. And then 1969, the space race, we landed a man on the moon. I'm going to bust some conspiracy theories right now. Number one, it would have cost more money to fake a moon landing than to actually land on the moon because you would have to pay so many people and build the studio and invent something that made it look like there was no gravity and pay so many people to not talk about it that I think it's all BS. We went to the moon, and if we didn't, then we have since, so it doesn't really matter. But we beat the Russians up there, and that was the most important thing. Remember, in a Cold War, we're not actually attacking. Excuse me. I'm yawning and everything. We're just flexing like we're going to attack, and that's all this was. The Cuban Missile Crisis. It was a flex. Ultimately, we negotiated it down, and they removed the missiles, and nobody ever fired any at one another, which was really good. And the reason why is because détente. That's a French word for like calming down. We eased tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, so we prevented attacks from happening. But this is super, super scary stuff, guys, and all of that is happening at the same time as a war with quotations and a question mark because is it actually a war? We're going to talk about the Vietnam War over the next 2 days. But that wraps us up with everything that we need to talk about today. So work on that project, get it turned in for Tuesday. Um, I'm just going to do Microsoft Teams meetings on Friday. I'm not going to do them on Tuesday because on Friday only one person out of all 3 classes came. So um, I'm not going to do 2 a week if nobody's going to show up and if I don't have any new information. But if you guys need anything, hit me up and remind, hit me up in the email. Um, be respectful of response times. If you send me a message after 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm not going to respond back until the morning because I'm trying to take some time for me. Um, a few of you have been sending me messages at 9, 10 o'clock at night, uh, and you're 2 or 3 like, hey, can you help me with this? Absolutely, I can help you, but I'm going to help you during school hours. Um, so I'll send you a message then. All right. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.